Katie.
Hi, Katie.
It's nice to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Mm-hmm. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a rough couple weeks since we've talked.
Yeah.
But yeah, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I know last time you came in, we were talking about your boyfriend Alex.
Mm-hmm.
You and him were in kind of a rough patch, but you were moving in a more positive direction.
Yeah.
How's it been since then?
Well, it's been a little up and down. So, in around Christmas, I went and met his family, and the week that we were down there, it was really good. We had a good time. I really got along with his family. Things were looking really, really good, and we spent a lot of time together, and I was really happy. And it was going well until the beginning of February. He kind of freaked out a little bit and broke up with me.
Oh.
And we can talk about that. I'll continue the timeline. And then the next day we got back together. So
it was short.
Yeah, it was a lapse of judgment. He was upset, took rash actions, but we worked it out. And then things were really good for the last couple weeks. But then just the last week, he's been really distant.
Yeah.
Or the week or two.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk about when we broke up.
Yeah.
So he's in the Navy, which you know, and he got his orders for his next station.
Oh.
And it was going to be San Diego, but it was also going to be 6 months earlier than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I thought he was leaving in December. These orders would have made him leave in June. And we had talked a couple weeks prior that when he left, we were going to break up because we didn't want anything to be hard on the other person, but that we would stay close and see what happens when he got back.
Okay.
Which would be 3 to 4 years, which is
Wow.
just a long time to wait for someone.
That is a long time.
So if our lives were in the same point when he got back, we would see.
Yeah.
But when he finally got his orders and found out he was going to be really far away and on a ship and it was going to be really soon,
Yeah.
he decided that he couldn't deal with being together and knowing that we were going to break up.
Yeah.
He didn't want to wait it out because he thought it was going to hurt more if he had it in the back of his mind that it was happening every second that we were together for the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. So it sounds like he didn't want to make you wait. Is that what I'm hearing?
This was very selfish. It had nothing to do with me. So there were other reasons in his justification for breaking up. He was just kind of trying to come up with reasons, I think.
Okay.
But it was mostly I think it was he got his orders and didn't want to deal with it. But there was also 2 other things. One, he thought that he was being emotionally abusive to me, which he wasn't. Last time we talked, I talked a little bit about how I was dealing with residual things from my ex-boyfriend who was emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
And it was kind of carrying over into this new relationship.
Yeah.
And he thought that those side effects were his fault. He thought that I would freak out sometimes over things that were not a big deal, but because they were a big deal in my last relationship. And he thought that because I would freak out and cry and get upset, it was his fault. And he thought that he was hurting me. And sometimes, if we got into an argument, I'd ask, is there someone else? Do you like someone else? Mm-hmm. And he would say, no, there's no one else. But then he would think, and he told me this when he broke up with me, am I making her feel like I'm cheating on her? Why would she think that at all? It's got to be something I'm doing.
Yeah.
I must be hurting her.
Okay.
So, which it wasn't that. It had nothing to do with him. It's a whole lot of me. And so that's why he broke up with me the first time. And then the other reason was that at some points, because we're kind of like apples and oranges, we're just very different people.
Yeah.
And so he thinks that sometimes when he's around me and we're out in public, he acts differently than he normally would.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I would hate that he couldn't feel like he could act like himself around me. But at the same time, when you're with somebody else, you know, you act differently because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not changing who we are or who he is, because he is still this doofy, sarcastic pain in my butt. But, you know, it's not, I don't know, just sometimes he wouldn't make certain comments that he would around his friends. And like, yeah, of course, you act differently around other people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he broke up. And then, this is the next part, the very next day, I was obviously devastated, completely devastated, but I went to work the next day because I'm an adult and I have to. And I was proud of myself. I kept myself together all day. I didn't cry once at work.
I know how big that is. That's hard.
Super hard. But it was good because, like, every time I would, like, start to get upset, someone would come talk to me, like, that second, and would need me to do something. So I was just like, snap right out of it. I'm busy. I don't have time to think about it.
It was easy to keep distracted at work.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But then, like, the moment I got in my car, I lost it. I was so upset. And will you stop texting me? And then, he called me on my way home. So I have, like, an hour drive home.
Yeah.
And I was, like, halfway home, and he called me, and he was like, hey, can I come over? I really want to talk to you. I want to make sure you're okay. And so I was, like, upset that he wanted to come over and see me to make sure I was okay, because I felt like, I don't know, if you care about me like that, why would you break up with me?
Yeah.
But then as soon as I got home, he, you know, got here, he poured his heart out about how he could, like, the moment he left my house the night before, he knew it was a mistake, but he had to, like, sit and think about it, and but that he really wanted to be with me, and I was what he wanted, even if it was going to be hard later, or even if we were going to have to deal with things, I was what he wanted. Which, I felt like he picked me over anything else, which is an amazing feeling, because in my last relationship, I was never picked over anything.
Yeah.
So it was...
So there's a lot of variables to this equation, but there was a good outcome.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
And so then we were really happy for the next couple weeks. It was really great. But so stuff started to get difficult at his work. And he got put on a new project, and it was really stressful for him, and he was not handling it well, and he denied his orders to California.
Oh.
So, which doesn't mean he's out of the Navy. It means he has to, like, do it differently.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
People do that. And, because he didn't want to leave so soon. And, so then he found out that he might not get new orders, and then he went through this big loop of how he might get new orders, how he might not, and that's still kind of fuzzy right now. But all of his stress at work has kind of spilled over into our relationship.
Yeah.
And he's become very distant, and has been just wanting time to himself, and has been wanting to go out with his friends, and he'll tell me, oh, I'm just going to stay in, but then, like, goes out with his friends. And, I mean, he's not doing it to lie to me. It's more of, like, he was going to stay in, and then one of his friends called him and was like, hey, do you want to come play pool? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's not, like, purposely, hey, I'm going to lie to Katie and tell her I'm staying in, because we got into a huge fight about this. Because one night he told me I was supposed to come over.
Yeah.
It was a Friday night, and he called me, like, before I left work, and was like, hey, I have a bunch of stuff to do. I think you shouldn't come over tonight. I might come over to your house, but I have a bunch of stuff to do. And I was like, okay. And then he decided he wasn't going to come over to my house either. He just had a lot to do.
Yeah.
And just wanted to stay in. So I was like, okay, you know, that's fine. But then I found out that he went out with his friends. And I was like, I'm hurt. Like, I was supposed to come over. It was really inconvenient for me to drive all the way home after work. And because he lives right around the corner from my office.
Okay.
I was like, it was inconvenient. And then, you know, now I'm over here. Like, Anyway, and so it turned into this huge fight. And he told me that it was never on purpose. It was a last minute decision, and it wasn't like a big deal. So anyway, then it turned out fine. But now he's, like this whole weekend, like I was supposed to see him, like I haven't seen him in over a week. I was supposed to see him a couple times this week, and every time he was like, I have to stay late at work, don't come over. Or then on Thursday he was like, I just need a night to myself, I don't want to see anybody, I just want to stay in. And like, I don't know, it kind of hurts that he doesn't want to see me.
Yeah.
Because I really want to see him, and he just doesn't, I don't know. He keeps telling me that it doesn't actually have a whole lot to do with me. It has a lot to do with his stress at work, and he's dealing with some family problems. And, like, I get that. But I know me, when I'm upset, I want to go to somebody that I care about a lot.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I go to my best friend, but other times, I go to him. And, he's a little closer than my best friend, so he's how I would get a hug when I'm feeling bad.
Yeah. And
so I would expect that that's what he would want, but he just deals with things on his own.
Yeah.
And that bothers me, because that's just not how I deal with things. And I don't like it.
That's fair. So the way you two are kind of handling this situation, it just seems a little different from each other.
Yeah. And, I know that I need to understand that he just deals with things differently than me, but I guess it's hard to not take it personal, that he just doesn't want to see me.
Yeah. So is that how you would describe your current relationship right now? Like, today, moving onward, in this moment, how would you describe you and Alex's relationship?
A little strained, still intact, but just not on the same page.
Okay. And where would you like your relationship to be?
I mean, I would really like to be on the same page, understanding each other. I'm really tired of dealing with, like, being strained. Like, we haven't been together that long. We really shouldn't have to be dealing with all these big problems so soon. At least I wouldn't think so. But, and I mean, every relationship is hard to get that. You have to compromise and deal with things. And being with someone who is perpetually going to move and go away until he gets out of the Navy. Yeah, things are going to get difficult. So
you want compromise?
I do. I want compromise, and I want stability.
Compromise and stability. Is there anything else you would like out of this relationship?
I mean, as far as, like, going forward and fixing what is happening now, I think compromise and stability would
cover the bases? Okay. And what steps do you think we should take to get this relationship moving in that direction of compromise and stability?
I'm not really sure. Because, like, I've tried to just, I don't know, I've tried to, like, communicate with him about how it makes me feel, and then, but be like, but if that's how you need to deal with things, that's fine. But it just ends up hurting me, like, I don't really know what to do right now. I'm trying to give him space. I'm not gonna ask to hang out until he does, which sucks. And
it sounds like you're letting him have that distance that you think he might want right now.
Yeah. And, like, so I'm a texter. I like to talk to people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm not great at it, but most of the time I am. And he just doesn't. He hates texting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could text him, like, all night, and I might get, like, 3 responses.
Yeah.
And so that makes it hard when I don't see him, because, like, we're not going to talk any other way.
Yeah.
And, well, he does call me sometimes. He's easier at just talking on the phone, just talking, which is weird, like, for people our age to actually want to talk on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm starting with seeing how distance works, giving him that time, giving him that space, figure out his life, what he needs to do, what he's got going on, and then, hopefully it'll work itself out.
Yeah. The communication outlet, texting, you mentioned, is that a compromise you wish you would make for you?
A little bit. We talked about it earlier in our relationship, because he, like, wouldn't respond to me and stuff, and it started to bother me. And, I told him, hey, like, it's not hard to respond. It's not like I demand your attention all of the time, though I would like it. You know, texting is something that you can do that's easy, that I would really appreciate. And for a while it got a lot better. And then around Christmas, we were spending so much time together that, like, I never texted him because I saw him almost every day for, like, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, like, I almost never texted him. So after that time period got away and we both got back to our jobs and I didn't see him all the time, it went straight back to not really texting me back.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, like, it's not like he'll do it on purpose. It'll be like he'll purposely ignore me. It'll be like he won't pay attention to his phone, or he'll fall asleep, and really early. He falls asleep, like, really, really early. He's kind of like a bear. They just have to sleep a lot.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, but I would like to communicate more productively.
Okay.
Because sometimes when we try to talk about things, like, I'll just get upset, and it won't be productive anymore.
Yeah.
So, that's another thing that I'd like to work on.
And what steps do you take to communicate productively with him?
Trying to explain myself, honestly. And sometimes when I'm upset, and this is with all people, I'll kind of, like, downplay how I feel or leave out things so that they don't feel bad about, you know, how I feel or whatever, and just to resolve it quickly. And then sometimes that leads to residual feelings on my end.
Yeah.
How, you know, I'll still kind of be upset about it, but the problem won't be over. So it'll just kind of linger. So I'm trying to be more honest, more holistic about how I'm feeling.
Good.
But it leads to more arguments. So I don't know how I feel about it right now. I'm working on it.
And the communication leading to arguments kind of goes back to the whole stability thing.
Mm-hmm.
What steps do we take to make the relationship that you have with Alex stable?
I think I'm still kind of dealing with stuff from my old relationship where he would lie all the time and manipulate me all the time. So I always question things that Alex does, assuming that it's malicious. Mm-hmm. And then it leads to arguments. He's like, why don't you trust me? Why would you think I would do that? And then, you know, that leads to both of us upset and whatever.
Yeah. And
leads to arguments. So I'm thinking maybe before I get upset about, you know, things that aren't actually, maybe not, before I get upset about things that could be thought of different ways, to sit and think about it from his perspective a little bit more before I start an argument.
Okay. That sounds like a pretty good plan. You know, getting in the perspective of someone else and trying to think about how they would think about something. Yeah. It's a good start to move in the direction of open communication.
Well, thank you. Mm-hmm.
So, to go back to communication and stability, what plan can we come up with to move your relationship now that you are giving him that space, which is good? What can we do to move from this distance to the place where you would like to be?
I don't know. Starting with distance would be my... I don't really have a plan past, like, this weekend. Or next week. My plan was to give him distance and see how he feels at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then figure things out. So I hadn't really thought of anything past that.
Okay. So there's not really a next step currently?
No, not currently. There's a whole lot of ambiguity about what might happen with us because of him eventually leaving. And so I have to, I don't know, I think I need to... So I'm a planner, which, I mean, that kind of contradicts what I just said, but, like, I like to have my life planned out, like, years in advance. And I don't think I can do that here. I think I just kind of have to wait and see what happens. And I mean, obviously, like, I'm planning my career, like, I'm really intending to have a promotion in June. My boss doesn't know that, but I'm thinking I'm going to get a promotion in June. If not June, December, guaranteed. But, so, I think that I think with him it needs to be a little bit different. I think I need to be more open to going with the flow. So.
And is that hard? Being a planner and not having that control?
Yes. I'm big on control. I like to control my life. And he's kind of like a wild card. He doesn't, he doesn't do things like I would think someone would. He doesn't act the way that I would think someone would. And it's hard to plan for what he's going to want. He changes his mind every other day.
Yeah.
About what he wants in life. And I'm just like, okay. Which, I mean, it's not like I don't do that, but,
yeah.
I mean, it's more like every 6 months, not every day. I'm pretty set on a plan for a while. And he's not. So, he could tell me one thing one day, and then say something completely different the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, So, I think I need to be more go with the flow.
So your plan with Alex is to not have a plan?
I think so. At least for now.
For now.
Yeah.
And I think whenever you're ready to come up with a plan, that's something you and I can do together. Because you've been very open to talking about this up until this point. And I'm very thankful for that. I know this is a lot to kind of bear off your chest. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we'll talk about that next time.
Okay. Come back and see me in a couple weeks. Or if anything changes suddenly and you want to talk about it, you're welcome back at any time. I'm always be here.
Great. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Katie.